to the nursery, which years ago had been full of children, but now was almost empty. I called some of the leaders into the nursery and told them to look around. They saw lots of empty stacking cribs. Then I asked them, would you like to see these cribs full again? With tears in their eyes, they said yes. As a consequence of that vision, to see the nursery full, they strongly supported me in all our outreach plans. About a year later, one of the dear older saints came up to me with tears one morning and said, Pastor Macfarlane, today the nursery was full. It is important to have a vision, and it is even more important for it to be inspiring. The third thing we can do is make a plan. Once the people in Mark chapter 2 had seen the need of the paralyzed man and believed that something could be done, they then had to decide what to do and how to do it. They probably considered either to have Jesus come to their village or to somehow take the man to where Jesus was. We know that they chose, obviously, the second plan. I've heard it said that few churches plan to fail, but many fail to plan. Unfortunately, the outcomes are the same. So, how can we reinvigorate our plans? Here are some suggestions. A, plan with the end in mind. This will help you see each of the components as important parts of the big picture. B, make SMART plans. SMART stands for specific, motivating, assigned, realistic, and trackable. C, remember that we achieve what we measure, so it's important to plan. D, plan with piggyback. What do I mean? You will have a stronger and lasting impact if your plans include connecting everything you do with what is ahead. For example, if you do a well-attended community picnic, it is smart to clearly tell the attendees of the other exciting events, courses, or programs that you are offering in the next couple of weeks. If you don't do this, you should not be surprised when they don't come back. All you will have done is have fed them. On my way through Calgary recently, I met a pastor friend of mine at the airport for coffee, and he told me how his church is continuing to grow, and they are now into multiple services. I rejoice with it. I love to hear churches that are doing well. And then I remembered when he attended a seminar for leadership that I gave, and God spoke to him about this very thing we're talking about, piggybacking. And he told me later, it was so simple and obvious. From then on, in our planning, we started connecting all our events, and now new people, have started to attend regularly. So, plan prayerfully and wisely. 4, invite others to be involved. Clearly, one person could not drag the paralyzed man to Jesus. He had to ask others to help. It took at least 4 to carry the heavy cart all the way to where Jesus was preaching and ministering that day. If we try to do it all by ourselves, we not only risk burnout, but we deprive others of the opportunity to serve, to learn, and to grow. How can you get others involved? Here are a few ideas. A, pray for people to join you. Prayer is a good idea. B, recruit and delegate. Always smart to do. C, offer training so that they'll know what to do and how to do it. D, offer resources to help them to be effective. E, discover people's gifts and use them in their area of giftedness. The good news is that across Canada, I see that the day of the prideful Lone Ranger is almost over. Many leaders are responding wonderfully to the biblical mandate to love, pray, plan, and work together, and are doing so with great impact and influence in their communities. For those that do, the future looks very bright. Last year, as part of EFC's National Celebration outreach event, 66 churches in the city of Winnipeg decided to work together, believing that they could accomplish much more together than they could on their own. One of their many, many projects during the 3-week outreach period began when they approached the police department and asked what they could do to serve the city. The police were surprised. And they said, well, if your churches could help us take some of the graffiti off the downtown, because it marks the city's gang areas, it keeps people away, and it promotes crime. The police identified 1,000 graffiti areas. Getting 1,000 Christians involved in this one project alone, the evangelical churches in the 3-week period took all the graffiti off the entire downtown area of Winnipeg. This resulted in the mayor of Winnipeg holding a press conference to congratulate the evangelical churches for, as he put it, putting your faith into action. There is incredible power and influence when we work as a team together. The next thought, number 5, is take action. The people in Mark chapter 2 did not just have a meeting to discuss the paralyzed man's situation. They actually got up, picked up the mat, and started running. Frankly, that is how most things get done. So how can we be better at putting our plans into action? Here are a few ideas. A, like Nike's slogan, it applies, just do it. B, we act wisely when we constantly evaluate and make course corrections as we go. C, someone has said that nothing replaces prayer plus action. Great formula. D, attempt it. Remember that failure is never final. In fact, Thomas Watson from the IBM fame said, the way to succeed is to double your failure rate. The churches in Canada, large or small, that are making the biggest impact are the ones that are staying focused so as not to get distracted and are actively out there pursuing their goals and learning as they go. They are committed to action. A church in Western Canada handed out well-designed flyers inviting people to see Spy Kids 3D as a community film night. Over 1,000 people attended, and the next week, 100 children that had never been to their church before showed up with their families. I asked the pastor, what was the secret for your success? Expecting him to say it was the great advertising. Instead, he said, all the action that we have been doing behind the scenes. I asked him, what do you mean? And he said, our community influence plan includes intentionally building relationships with the schools. Our people volunteer at the school, and I personally have developed a relationship with the principal. So when we wanted to promote the film, I went to him and asked if he would hand out the flyers at the school. Not only did he say yes, but he handed them out personally. By the way, this was not a Christian school. The key was the well-thought-out action in the plan. Number 6, think creatively. After all their effort and hard work and sacrifice to bring the paralyzed man to Jesus, they discovered a problem. The crowd around Jesus was so large that they couldn't even get near the door. They tried the window, but that was blocked too. Can you just imagine the discouragement of these people who had worked so hard and had such high hopes suddenly finding themselves defeated? They tried all the traditional ways to get in, the door, the window, but they failed. I can just imagine one of them saying, why did we bother? What a waste of our time. Then one of them must have said, let's try the roof. Now, that made as much sense then as it does today. But somehow they climbed onto the flat roof of the home, and one of them probably said, well, now what? There is no way in from here. Just then, the leader says, just a minute, I think Jesus is right under us now. Start digging. Can you imagine the look of shock on their faces? Dig up someone else's roof? We've never done